Springfield's Talk 1041 and good Tuesday morning. Welcome to the show, everyone. We done got a busy one today. I can tell you that, well, I'd like to think that they're all busy in some capacity. Angela Romine will be joining us after 6:30 as she is on your ballot, depending on where you live. Jamie Gregg running for re-election. She is challenging him in the primary. Of course, we have sample ballots at KSGF.com, sponsored by Brad Pistole, host of Safe Money Radio. Now, if you want to make a notation of it, Jamie, the incumbent, will be on Thursday at 6:30. So it'll be the same time slot. If you, of course, miss either of them, they will be up in podcast form in the podcast section, also the election section specifically. Lori Rook, she will be joining us after 8 o'clock. Curtis Trent, incumbent that she's challenging, he was with us yesterday, and that, again, if you missed it, you can go back and find it at ksgf.com or the app, and of course, share all of these if you'd like to. If you are just want to share information, I suppose, you are more than willing to do that, or free to do that. And then we're also going to have today, it's a pretty booked day, one of the individuals that has been very vocal in Springfield specifically with concerns regarding flock cameras and providing some more detailed information, because it is one of those issues that I think many people are aware of, but they aren't necessarily fully aware of exactly to what extent flock cameras do or are able to gather information. I think for a lot of folks, they almost think of them as just maybe if you run a stop sign or run a stoplight and it captures a picture of you, and then that is used in order to issue you a ticket for not yielding or not stopping properly at an intersection, and gets your license plate, and that's how they're able to track you down. And technology has advanced with flock cameras to go well beyond that, and so we'll get some of that information as well, and that will be after 8:30. Tomorrow, Fauci is set to testify. These diary excerpts have been talked about over the last 24 hours. This is something that eventually, under force of law, had to be released. Fauci, to some degree, I'm always kind of amazed that such incriminating information is not only kept but turned over by people who have demonstrated they don't have any respect for the law. I mean, we've learned things about Fauci, and it's part of the reason that Biden gave him a pardon, because of the full recognition that he had, by all appearances, all the evidence, he had broken numerous laws, including perjury. And so someone who lacks any sort of morality or ethics in that context, to then not only not destroy incriminating evidence in your own hand, but then turn it over when you're told that you have to. You're like that you're going to follow? There's also a lot of discussion as to whether Fauci will feel compelled to be truthful and acknowledge his past lies during the testimony, because the argument is the pardon that was given by Biden would not cover if he lies today. Now, I remember some of those pardons seeming to cover future crimes, kind of gave some of these people a free pass. I don't recall if Fauci was one of those individuals. If not, the intrigue, if you will, is that, okay, Fauci, legally speaking, is in a better place admitting that he's broken the law, admitting that he's committed perjury, because by denying it, when there is evidence, or dare I say proof, that he did do it, if that pardon doesn't cover this perjury, then lying about the lying could get him in trouble. But if he admits that he broke the law under the pardon, then there's nothing that can be done to him. And because of that perspective, there are some who believe potentially he could just come clean about the things that he lied about and just say, hey, there's nothing that you can do to me. Almost like O.J. Simpson writing the book, If I Did It, that sort of thing. Now, I think even if those are the circumstances, Fauci is such a sociopath. I think you have to wonder if someone like him believes his own lies. A lot of the entries that have come out of his diary, they're not surprising, but they actually are just as, if not potentially more, damning of people in the media. The people that we are told we're supposed to listen to, providing objective news, were essentially lapdog buddies of Fauci, according to his diary. He's palling around with them. He's having dinner at their homes. He's writing down text messages he's getting from people like Jake Tapper and Stephanopoulos and Dana Bash, where they just gush over him, and that they're essentially conspiring with one another, according to Fauci's writings, on how it is to help him message, particularly when it comes against Trump. It's an acknowledgement of the fact that these people are his propagandists. There was a day and a time, and some of you will recognize this depending on your age or how long you've been paying attention to these things. Any journalist whose name would be exposed as having this sort of relationship with someone that they were covering would have been immediately fired. Immediately fired. And the fact that no one will even be disciplined or criticized by the networks that pay these individuals for this behavior. Instead, it will be either ignored or it will be justified, shows just how unjournalistic journalism is in this country. And in terms of its original purpose, is completely irrelevant. Now, independent journalists are a whole different story. Independent journalists, the ones that the mainstream journalists sneer at, yet are the ones that are exposing massive fraud, that are going around to Somali daycares and doing what actual journalists should do, while instead the so-called mainstream journalists are trashing on the independent journalist. It just tells you how screwed up the left has made this country. They have destroyed what has traditionally been a trusted media in this country. At the same time, there is a list of names that's been revealed due to cross-referencing of journalists that were in one form or another essentially paid by or for and groomed by the communist Chinese to come back here to the United States and write stories favorable to them. You know, Trump alluded to this during that speech a couple of weeks ago, and many people were like, well, who are these journalists? I mean, if there are journalists that have been on the payroll of the communist Chinese, we need to know who these people are. Well, there's a list of names that's been put out there that the originator of the list has been developed by cross-referencing situations. You know, so while they don't have, here's the classified documents or whatever form it is in, the names and the payments, what they did is they took what we knew about the communist Chinese, the journalists that they were targeting, and then they looked at, okay, did these journalists write the sort of articles that the communist Chinese were wanting to be written? Oh, yes, they did. So 1 + 1 = 2. Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line 447 KSGF. Right now, the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First, meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. An extreme heat warning remains in effect until 7 p.m. tonight. Today we'll see partly sunny skies with a high near 98, heat index values as high as 106. Tonight, a chance for isolated showers and thunderstorms before 11 p.m., otherwise mostly cloudy with a low around 75. For your Wednesday, scattered showers in the afternoon and then partly sunny with a high near 89, heat index values as high as 96. And for Thursday, mostly sunny with a high near 90.
Ozark Empire Fair coming up, and you could win an Ultimate Fair package, win tickets to every grandstand show, plus meet and greets to Sawyer Brown, and 4-pack to the Kids Monster Truck Challenge, which is before the Outlaw Monster Trucks. You can register at KSGF.com. Friday is Heroes Breakfast, by the way, so if you're a veteran as we broadcast live from Scramblers, you come out and join us. Free breakfast that provided by Delta Roofing, Air Services, Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, Electrical, The Warrior's Journey, and Scramblers. I did look it up, referencing Fauci and the committee that he is going to be testifying before tomorrow morning, and the pardon that was given by Biden. Of course, it's described in a number of different news stories as it was provided to protect him from political persecution from Donald Trump. Yes, that's what it was. But it apparently only covered any crimes that Fauci would have committed or did commit up until January 20th of 2025. So if that is accurate information, then the idea here is that he is potentially more compelled to actually tell the truth about the things that he lied about before, because if he lies about them now, it's outside his pardon. If he tells the truth, he's like, yep, I committed perjury, and here's all the illegal things I did, but guess what? That is in the pardon time frame, and so I'm free and clear. But if he lies and commits perjury now, claiming he was telling the truth then, it would be outside the pardon, and so he could face prosecution. That being said, there's a strong argument to be made that Fauci doesn't believe he will be held accountable, even if he does commit perjury again, because no one who is on the left tends to ever be held accountable for any laws that they break, even when it is clear that they did. And so he will just be a child of the environment, a product of the environment that unfortunately has been created by Republican administrations of having a history of not going after people who have broken the law, who are of the opposite political persuasion, out of fear that they'll be accused of politically going after or using, lawfare against political prosecution, which Democrats clearly have had no problem doing for some time now. To Fauci's diary, I think one of the more important revelations, because some of this stuff is just a validation of what we've already known. While he and others are out there claiming that the lab leak is not a viable potential for COVID, while that is just disinformation. Privately, he's acknowledging that in all likelihood that is what it is. I mean, the guy has lied in his own hand, acknowledged, and in his own voice at times acknowledged that he has lied about virtually every component of COVID that we were drugged through. Up to and including finally admitting that the whole 6-foot thing, totally made up. These Fauci worshipers, though, have no idea about any of this. I know that it's difficult for people who seek out information to understand and to recognize, because we're like, how do they not know this stuff? It's out there. How do they not know that that he went back and forth on the issues of masks, or while he's publicly saying, oh, masks are needed, he's privately saying no, or the fact that at one point he was discouraging people from buying masks and would later say, he was afraid that everyone would buy them all up. And his acknowledgement again that the 6-foot thing, totally made up, totally random. Could have been 20 feet, could have been 6 inches, didn't make any difference. And the acknowledgement that he knew that in all likelihood there was a lab leak component, and he was instead out there publicly saying otherwise. And you say to yourself, how do people on the left still worship this guy? How do they not know? How is this guy still even walking around not being shamed into isolation? Well, part of the answer is, of course, the media. The media was acting as the propagandist for Fauci, and that has further been demonstrated in so many of these entries in his diary that were exposed in the last 24, 48 hours. Fauci's closest media ally appeared to have been CNN anchor Jake Tapper, who was mentioned 41 times in Fauci's diary. According to the diary, Tapper texted Fauci to mock rival cable news host and other doctors. On one occasion, Tapper called to check on Fauci after an appearance on his show irked Trump supporters. Fauci wrote on April 13th, 2020 in his diary, quote, Jake wanted to make sure the interview did not cause me any problems. This is supposed to be an independent journalist that is reporting factual information, and he's following up, hey, Mr. Fauci, just want to make sure I didn't cause you any trouble. I didn't, did I? In July of 2020, Fauci gushed that he was forming a friendship with Tapper, quote, had dinner over at Jake's and Jen Tapper's home in D.C., terrific couple, friendship building. Later that month, Fauci wrote that he gave Jake some questions to ask pediatrician Brett Giroir during an interview on CNN State of the Union. So they are literally, or in this case, Jake Tapper, doing the actual bidding of Fauci. People that are independent scientists, independent doctors that are asking questions based on a scientific approach to certain things Fauci's saying, and they are like lapdogs taking questions from Fauci and presenting them as if they are their objective journalistic questions. Fauci wrote, Tapper woke me up at 11:23 a.m. I went to bed early, furious at POTUS for tweeting about the fact that Jake severely questioned Brett Giroux on SOTU CNN Today. Jake was really ticked off at the craziness of it all. The late-night tirade couldn't have bothered Fauci too much as he invited Tapper to dinner at his home months later. Had dinner at my home with Jake and Jennifer Tapper. Relaxed, good time. Jake clearly believes that Trump is a total nut. CNN's Dana Bash sent Fauci a text message in April of 2021 after a contentious House Selection Subcommittee hearing over COVID-19, according to his diary. The CNN star complimented Fauci and informed the doctor that her CNN colleague also picked a side. Quote, Dana Bash sent me a text. I just watched the whole Jordan thing, and you're a better man than I. As our friend Wolf Blitzer said to me yesterday, no one would have blamed you if you had simply said, Mr. Jordan, go blank yourself. And, of course, Jim Jordan turned out to be the one that was accurate and correct in his approach all that time in dealing with COVID. Another entry, Andrea Mitchell called my cell very apologetic about not being able to have me on the show since they already booked a couple of governors who were given exclusives to NBC. I mentioned to her my concerns about them keeping me off the air. She was shocked and thought that when I did not come on after request, that it was because I did not want to go on the show. So she was groveling. Oh, I had no idea, Mr. Fauci. I just assumed it was because you didn't want to. I was so sorry. Another entry, I had a really nice conversation with Chuck Todd this morning. He texted me to ask what I thought of the interview he did yesterday. I told him that I thought he was absolutely terrific, but I wanted some advice from him. I asked him whether he thought I should pull back from publicly defending myself against the slanderous attacks, since that might call more attention to them. He also revealed George Stephanopoulos texted him following an interview on Good Morning America in July of 2020. Apparently, Stephanopoulos was impressed that Fauci dismissed a mean tweet from Trump, saying, thank you, Tony, so impressive. And it goes on and on and on. If there were any, even desire to have the appearance of journalistic integrity in this country, every one of those people would lose their jobs and never work for a news network again. The fact that this is, I guarantee you, no problem, that they will dismiss it as, well, it's just the way that you're able to get information. You establish a rapport with these people. Gushing over them, acting like some sort of fangirl, trying to get compliments from him, taking questions from him to ask people who are considered his opposition. That's not just establishing rapport. That is being a lapdog of the person that you are supposed to be objectively covering. And the fact that the media will dismiss this or rationalize this shows that mainstream media, the media that we're told is legitimate media, is anything but. Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. You want the absolute best? Even better than the best when it comes to home buying, it comes to home selling. You've got Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. One of the real benefits that you hear consistently from people that have utilized her services is the connections that she has. This isn't for, listen, a lot of people almost treat it as a gig, side gig, making a little extra walking around money. They're like, sell a house or two a month, make a couple extra bucks just to put away, or maybe have a vacation fund. This is not only her life, it's her passion. As she said, she works 364 days a year. Christmas is her day off. And because of that, she knows the people in other industries that oftentimes are needed when you're looking to sell your home. You have an inspection done, and they're like, oh, you got a foundation issue, or you got some termite problems, or some roofing issues, and they want that fixed before they purchase the house. She knows those people. And some of the folks who have raved about their experience with her said, because we were so busy, she set the stuff up for us. You get so much more than someone just finding homes for you and unlocking the lockbox so you can tour through it when you have Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. An extreme heat warning remains in effect until 7 p.m. tonight. Today we'll see partly sunny skies with a high near 98 and heat index values as high as 106. Tonight, a chance for isolated showers and thunderstorms before 11 p.m. Otherwise, mostly cloudy with a low around 75. For your Wednesday, scattered showers in the afternoon and then partly sunny with a high near 89. Heat index values as high as 96. And for Thursday, mostly sunny with a high near 90.
Angela Romine in studio with us. How do you do?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me
Well,
this morning.
of course. I seemed like there was a period of time I'd see you all the time, and then I catch glimpses of you oftentimes as I'm leaving Scramblers on Friday.
Yeah.
Because I rarely actually, just doing the show, am aware of who all is there, and then I'm getting out and I'm like, oh, hey, there's Angela, and there's so-and-so, and there's so-and-so. You're running for the 140th.
Yes.
So for people that, a lot of people, they don't know exactly where they are. What area does that cover?
That is basically most of Ozark. There's a little bit west of that, which would be close north Nixa in Christian County, so not in the Greene County area, almost to Wilson's Creek. And then to the east, it's around Sparta, not Sparta proper, all the way to like Bruner area. And there are some, a little bit of Rogersville homes, but they're in the county, again, in Christian County, not Rogersville proper.
I suppose you know very specifically where the boundaries are.
Yes.
As you are out there in the district, going door to door, talking with people. And you are running, this isn't an open seat, so you're
Correct.
running, it's primary against an incumbent. What compelled you to run?
Well, really, the last thing really was the vote on the Second Amendment Preservation Act in committee. But just trying to get back to the proper role of government.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we have lost our way. A lot of us are kind of tired of the same old, and that's the other thing. We had an opportunity to vote against the status quo for speaker, and unfortunately, most Republicans voted for the status quo.
Now that you mentioned Second Amendment Preservation Act, I take it when you reference that was at least partially a compelling factor. You disagreed with the incumbent and his position on that, which he was against it, if I remember correctly.
Right. In committee.
Yeah. In committee.
And the reason that's important is, I'm sure there's other bills that weren't exactly perfect, but getting them on the floor to discuss and debate,
yeah.
right? So, yeah.
So, what do you, if you get in there, what are you hoping happens? I mean, I know it's a very broad question, but clearly you feel as if things are sort of status quo.
Yeah.
What do you hope that a future Missouri-led or Republican-led state legislature looks like?
Well, I know it's going to be more than just one person. I'm hoping to be able to be in the numbers that grow, that are tired of the status quo. So, take that Justin Sparks, John Patterson vote. That was just 10 Republicans that voted against the status quo to change the House rules and to just, have something different. And so if I'm there and these other people win, then that's 11. But I think that we just need to be able to start having actually people that have public service at heart and not the idea of power and leadership and what do I have to do to go up the ranks? My whole purpose of this is really to get back to being the voice of the people, not lobbyists, not special interest groups, but to actually listen to people. And again, even if you agree or don't agree, we can listen civilly and have that civil conversation.
I'd like to, even though some people, they probably recognize your voice or they've heard you on promoting a number of different events. But for people that maybe this is the first time that they've actually gotten a chance to hear you, listen to you, just your background a bit, if you would.
Well, I'm a massage therapist by day. And I'm not, a political science major or attorney or anything like that, right? I'm just your average Joe. And but I ran for city council here in Springfield, and I won that. And because of the stances that I took, people started asking me to consider running for state senate, which eventually, after praying, I did.
That was remarkably close. I mean, I didn't forget it, but it wasn't top of mind, and because that was against Lincoln Huff,
Correct.
who had, I mean, as much establishment behind him as any person could, and the fact that I don't remember the exact margin, but that you came as close as you did was a remarkable thing.
Well, thank you.
I mean, it really was,
Well, and-
because just like I said, not only the incumbency factor, but he had the entire state establishment doing everything they could to get him elected, and you, not some attorney, not some career politician, just a local business owner, going door to door, grassroots, without all that money. I thought it was remarkable.
Well, thank you. Well, I just want to show this establishment and the big money that people are really tired. They want somebody that's willing to stand up for them, whether it's uncomfortable or not, whether they're the only voice standing against everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people are looking for. And so I think I proved that in Springfield. I mean, I got told, Angela, don't run as the most conservative because you'll never win. And I'm like, Springfield is hungry for something like that.
Right.
So
Success.
yeah. So that's what I want to bring. And then I also have the biblical citizenship at my church.
Can you explain what that is?
So we do, it's for lack of a better word, a civic ministry. So we talk about civics, how to look up MEC reports, but we also have classes. So the Patriot Academy has a biblical citizenship class that's videos, and we just learn about the founding fathers and the Constitution, things like that. We're also a Turning Point Faith chapter, so we have also access to that. We have videos. Once a year, we have to do an event. This year we did an apologetics class, Frank Turk's class there. And so, but yeah, we meet once a week and we just talk about how to vote, how to look at things through a biblical lens, and be civically engaged.
We're talking with Angela Romine. She is running she'll be on the ballot. So those of you, if you're in the 140th, if you don't know, you'll find out, I suppose, when you go and pick up your ballot to vote next Tuesday. We do have sample ballots at KSGF.com, sponsored by Brad Pistole, host of Safe Money Radio. We'll have more with Angela Romine coming up in just moments. I'm Nick Reed. I want a great homeloan.com. All of your home loan needs, your refinancing needs, reverse mortgage needs. Is that a thing that you would ever need? A lot of folks think that a reverse mortgage is as simple as if your house is completely paid off, then you sort of sign it over to someone, and then the value of the home, you're able to use that in order to stay there, and then once that's used up, you're kicked out. That's not really how it works at all. But you don't even have to fully have your home paid off in order to qualify, and and you don't get kicked out of your home just because you, quote, run out of that collateral, if you will. But that's all information that the Carrickers and the team can explain to you, and also reverse mortgages and home loans. If you've been through the process before and it was a nightmare, I guarantee you they do everything possible to make sure that is not the case. In fact, so many of the reviews from people, including myself, are about how much easier they made the process. And it doesn't mean the process itself is easier, but they do the heavy lifting for you when oftentimes that's not the case. iwantagreathomeloan.com. Angela Romine, she is in studio with us as she is running in the primary, 140th. As you go around, you're a door-to-door person in this beautiful springtime weather. What are you hearing from folks?
They are also very frustrated at the same thing. Like, they don't feel that they're being heard and listened to. The cost of living is a huge thing, the price situation of everything. So definitely there's a lot of Amendment 5 conversations happening at the door. I get, if people ask my opinion, I give it. But I always tell them, I did a video. I said, there's 3 steps to making a decision, especially when it comes to voting. I said, the first step is listen to all sides. Don't discount things. There are some people trying to spread misinformation or whatever, but some people actually do have valid concerns, and those concerns need to be addressed. 100%. You can't just villainize somebody just because they don't agree with something, right? Step 2 is going to God in prayer, asking for wisdom and discernment. And then step 3 is actually reading the whole amendment, not just the ballot language. And if you don't understand something on step 3, then you go back to step 2, or you can, use AI to Google. Can you explain this to me as I'm a first grader?
Yeah. And then follow up with, how about now as a kindergartner?
Yes.
That's such a great point, because people will, as a litmus test, oftentimes, how do you feel about this? And I think that there are some, like, these sort of foundational belief systems I understand that are perhaps more significant to people, like the issue of life and abortion versus an Amendment 5. And we tend to, Tom Arts and I have talked about this, we tend to think we have to be all in or all out on something, instead of at times recognize, sometimes something isn't 100% wonderful or 100% awful. Sometimes it is a mixed bag.
Right.
And I think that we'd be better off acknowledging that sometimes.
Correct.
Instead of, because we create these camps, and then you see people that generally 98% of the time get along on stuff, and all of a sudden they're name calling, and you're a traitor and you're not a real patriot. It's like, guys.
It is very heartbreaking. That's an excellent point. So in that video, I even said, look at the Patriot Act. And unfortunately, I was part of that. I wasn't really running for anything. But when I heard that we needed to do something to protect ourselves after 9/11, I was like, yeah, we need to do everything we can to protect ourselves. And I remember the conversation of some people saying, wait a minute, this can be used nefariously. And everybody's like, you're crazy. That will never happen. And now we know it does. So just discounting somebody that has an issue, and you can't just say, well, it'll never happen. Right. When I hear that, I'm like, the Patriot Act shows us that it can happen. So how can you tell me, explain it to me, sell me this idea so that I understand that my concern is not a valid concern. But just saying that it'll never happen is not a good answer, because it just shows you that it can.
Well, especially when it's just based off of the person's word or the people in power. And that was a big selling point, I think, for a lot of people. And I don't remember my exact mindset at the time, but I was like you, thinking the Patriot Act makes sense, and it's bipartisan, except for Russ Feingold, one liberal U.S. senator and then I think David Kucinich of Ohio. Those two Looney Tunes were against it, so you don't want to be with them, right?
Right.
And but also part of it was, as somebody who at that period of time, very Republican and everything, they would never do that.
Right.
And you don't think about, what about when they aren't the ones with the tools anymore?
Right.
And we've seen what has happened.
Right. Well, and unfortunately, sometimes our party also falls short.
Yeah, sure.
Right. We don't really toe what we say we believe in sometimes. But yeah, so that really, and I don't want to influence one way or the other. I mean, even when people ask me at church that know me, like I'm the go-to person, I'm like, these are the both talking points, and it depends on what your belief is. I want you to vote what you believe is the right thing to do. I'll tell you why I'm voting this way, and I'll tell you what my why, but I try to give both sides to everything so that people can make their own decisions.
We're talking with Angela Romine, running in the 40th sample ballots, KSGF.com. This isn't really a political question, but I think about how different things are. You know, when you and I were kids and somebody rang your doorbell and you answered it, and now people don't. So many people have Ring doorbells. People have signs, "Don't bother me."
Yeah.
What's it just like going door to door today? I mean, do most people not answer the door? Do they talk to you through a ring? Or are they like, "What do you want?"
I would say more than likely they don't answer the door. Sometimes I am very surprised when somebody on a ring will say, "Can I help you?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just letting you know I'm running for office. I have some literature here. I'll put it here on your door." And they're like, "Thank you," and I walk away. But there are some people that really want to get engaged, and I really have loved every bit of it. Let me just tell you, on the door knocking, I was really frustrated one day because it seemed like everything was against me. I was trying to walk this walkbook and I just couldn't get to it. And so the next day I went to go door knock, and that day I met 3 ladies that had such a heartbreaking story that it would just compel me to say, I'm sorry. Can I just pray over you? Yeah. And, we're crying and praying. And then I'm like, okay, have a great day. And I left, and I'm like, that to me was, I tell my volunteers, I'm like, that already makes me feel like a winner. I don't care what the end result is. Maybe that's why God has me on this path. It's just so that I could knock on this 3 doors this 1 week and just be there for somebody that really, really needed to talk to somebody.
My gosh, humanity, what has happened to it? But then that
Exactly.
happens, and you realize that there is still good out there.
Yes. So, if a door was slammed in my face, it was totally worth it.
Have you had any that were just like, because I mean it's a primary, but I imagine you still hit some houses in which people that aren't necessarily open to the Republican belief ideology so much.
So far, I think I've only hit maybe like really under 10 in that area. One lady was like, since Trump, I'm no longer a Republican. And I'm like, well, okay.
Yeah.
That is the beauty of this nation, is that you can believe whatever you want to believe. Yeah. And so, you do you. Yep. And have a great day.
Yep. See you later. Thanks for answering the door. Angela Romine with us, running in the 140th. We are going to take a quick break, and then we'll have a few more thoughts with her coming up here. Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed. Sarah Myers, everyone.
Thank you. Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air. The heat is sticking around over the next couple of days. Now, if you missed the forecast, we are still in an extreme heat warning, and the temps, they will be in the middle to upper 90s, which means that your AC is going to be running nonstop over the next couple of days, and that's really when breakdowns occur. Now, if this happens to you, I want to recommend the team over at Foreman Mechanical. They do residential and commercial services. They really do a great job communicating with you, and they do also have that 24/7 emergency service line. So if you do have an AC breakdown over the next couple of days, remember Foreman Mechanical for all of your HVAC needs. You can find all of their contact information under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
Sample ballots for Tuesday's election at ksgf.com, sponsored by Brad Pistol, host of Safe Money Radio. And for some of you, those that live in the 140th, Angela Romine's name will be on that ballot for state rep. Just final parting thoughts for folks this morning?
Yeah, so some of the things that I really want to at least start the conversation, because I know it's going to be an uphill battle, is I have talked about this to people at the door and in the forums. I really would like to see what Texas is doing as far as schools are concerned with true fact-based history. And because I think that's going to change hearts and minds, we can start actually creating children that are proud of their country. You know, I know we have our bad moments, but every country has the good and the bad and the ugly, right? And so we need to focus on actual fact-based history. We shouldn't be afraid to say that we had the Black Robe Regiment, which were pastors, that our founding fathers got most of our laws and even the hierarchy of our government from the Bible. We don't have to bring the Bible back into class necessarily, but we can have these conversations so that kids can know why we
truth.
have exactly. And I think that would be the best way, and really trying to figure out how to remove more DEI more than anything else. I know that we have removed it from federal government, but it's still there. I mean, Springfield, it's now considered cultural something beloved something or another, and so but the premise is still there. So we need to just root that out as best as we can, and not forget the things that were really mattered that we still haven't fixed in along the way.
Well, it's good to see you as always.
Thank you.
And of course, people. Is there a specific campaign Facebook or website?
Yeah, the Facebook is Angela Romine.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't changed the page name.
And then oftentimes Fridays at Scramblers.
Yes,
it is a Heroes Breakfast this Friday.
I will be there.
Right, excellent. So, yeah, if you want to meet or have any questions, then Angela Romine will be there. And I know one way or another, over some subject matter, we will be talking with you again in the future. So,
always a pleasure.
yes, indeed. Agreed 100%. Now, coming up in the next hour, we are going to talk a little bit about Vitae Foundation. I told you this is a very packed morning. Vitae Foundation is such an incredible, meaningful organization when it comes to human rights and the rights of people to live and not have their lives taken from them. And there is an annual event that they have here, and I'm always fortunate enough to be able to MC it every year. So we're going to get you updated on who the speaker is. They always have fantastic speakers, and this upcoming event is no exception to that. So all of that coming up. The Pyramid Roofing Company text line 447-KSGF. If you want to text in any thoughts or questions, feel free to do so. In the meantime, news in 60 seconds. I'm Nick Reed. Springfield's Talk 104.1. Good Tuesday morning. My name is Nick Reed. We have Heroes Breakfast coming up Friday. Free breakfast for veterans at Scramblers as we broadcast live from 6A to 9A. Delta Roofing, Air Services, Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, Electrical. The Warriors Journey Scramblers all making that possible. Of course, we always have details. I don't know what really details you would need to have on that other than just show up if you're a veteran, get free breakfast. But if you do, we've got info at KSGF.com. And while you're there, you can register to win the ultimate fair package for the Ozark Empire Fair coming up. Tickets to every grandstand. It's one full package is what it is. So if you win, you'll get tickets to every grandstand show, plus meet and greet for Sawyer Brown, a 4-pack to the Kids Monster Truck Challenge, which is before the Outlaw Monster Trucks. I wanted to quickly share with you, here it is, what Melanie had to say, because I tell you so much about, of course, Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoor and our experience with them. And so this is Melanie and Nick. Oh, his name's Nick as well. Nick said, "My wife and I wanted to express our sincere appreciation to Daniel and the team at Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoor. The team was personal, professional, provided us a wonderful setting for our new greenhouse, the stone retaining wall, outdoor water outlets, 400 foot of underground water lines, site prep, and cleanup were a work of art, and their entire team was workmanship and customer service simply outstanding. Daniel was extremely helpful in seeing this vision and sharing how the stone accent for our Yoder-built greenhouse would become a part of a beautiful complement to our home and landscape. Let Daniel and his team partner with you to help make your project dreams come true." That's Nick and Melanie. And they posted before and after pics to come. And there are before and after pics as well on the site. You can do the little sliding thing, which is a way for you to see what before and after projects look like. And it's not just hardscaping, but landscaping, water features, entire outdoor living areas, lighting for your home as well, or your garden, your landscaping. They can take care of all of it. And they are the absolute best in the area. I can attest to that. HunterHardscapes.com, also under Nick's endorsements at KSGF.com. We're going to talk some Vitae Foundation stuff coming up here in just a couple of moments. It is that time of year, and those of you who many have attended the annual events here in Springfield, and even if you haven't, that annually I'm always fortunate enough to be able to have a small part in it, and we're able to share with you information about one of the greatest organizations, not just in terms of the cause itself, but the way that it functions in a meaningful way. And so we're going to take some time to focus on that here coming up. Right now, the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. An extreme heat warning remains in effect until 7 p.m. tonight. Today we'll see partly sunny skies with a high near 98 and heat index values as high as 106. Tonight, a chance for isolated showers and thunderstorms before 11 p.m., otherwise mostly cloudy with a low around 75. For your Wednesday, scattered showers in the afternoon and then partly sunny with a high near 89, heat index values as high as 96. And for Thursday, mostly sunny with a high near 90.
Always love the opportunity to talk about Vitae Foundation and to invite all of you to join the annual event that takes place here in Springfield. And I think this is the first time maybe Brandy Meeks, who's president of Vitae Foundation, in studio with us. I don't know that I've ever had you on the show.
I think maybe one other time.
Okay.
One other time. It's been a couple years, though. I have a picture because I have a picture of me with Ronald Reagan back here.
All right. You know,
I don't forget Reagan.
I got that at a silent auction, thinking I would never actually win. I never win silent auctions, and then I did, and it did not cost that much at all.
Well, I remember posing in front of that picture because I was like, anybody who has Reagan in their office is a friend of mine.
Yeah, for people who don't, it's a good size poster, and it's just a picture of his profile says he'll be Carter, so that gives you an idea of
He's
what
not
race it
forgettable.
was.
I obviously am forgettable, Nick, because
it was
you
you were standing next to. Well, no, as I see you on a regular basis, so I kind of forget where it is.
I'll give you.
And it's coming up. The annual event here in Springfield. Should we start talking about Vitae itself or the event?
Well,
What do you think?
You know what? I think everybody's kind of.
You do this a lot.
You know, we tease the event, so let's talk about Vitae, and then you guys will get to hear more about Riley Gaines. I mean, does it get any better? You know, simply does it get any better?
Right.
All right. So,
and I want to note, there's two approaches, primary approaches when it comes to dealing with this issue. One, it's the law, and then it's the actual human contact and dealing with people. And I think they're both very, very important. For very different reasons. And, while so many people focus on, and it'll be in November, voting once again when it comes to the issue of abortion, this is sometimes it gets overlooked.
Yeah.
And I cannot express how I think underappreciated the value of this approach is when it comes to the issue of human rights. And so I just wanted to sort of set that platform down.
I appreciate that so much because there are two different approaches, and it doesn't mean that either of them are less important than the other. They're meant to work in tandem. Culture is important, right? And law actually follows culture. So that's why it's so important that we can't look past one and just try to put all of our resources into the other. And also, I think that it's really important to understand from a cultural perspective that we will never legislate or regulate abortion out of people's hearts. It's not going to happen.
No, 100% agree.
And so we have to really be able to connect with people's hearts and minds from the human element. Find more about what we are for and less about what we're against. Doesn't mean that I am any less against abortion than the person next to me that's trying to make sure that all the legislative stuff is covered. I'm grateful for them. Right. It's not my lane.
Right.
Right. We all have to work together to be able to end what I believe is one of the greatest human rights atrocities of our lifetime. But for us, it is a cultural issue. We believe that if we can connect with people's hearts and minds on the issue, then we have the ability to be able to help people see that there are other options, better options besides ending the life of a human being. And so that's what we do. A lot of people hear the word research and they think surveys and polling, and those are great things, but those aren't predictive of human behavior. Instead, those report how people behaved. And so what we do is we want to get on the proactive side of things. So we do emotional research, and this emotional research is consumer research. It's much like the kind of research that's done to help people understand or help businesses understand what products to sell, at what price point, even what colors to use,
Sure.
right? And so because all of those things are tightly tied to our emotions, whether we realize it or not, it matters to us how we feel when we're driving a certain kind of car. In fact, our research was created by a man named Dr. Charles Kinney. He is the man who made sure that GM did not stop selling the Corvette. So for all those guys that are out there listening that are saying, I love my Corvette, right? I love the image, or I love the idea that someday I can have a Corvette. That is connected to your emotions. There are a lot of emotions that are associated with maybe success or feeling like you've arrived, confidence, those types of things. Dr. Charles Kinney saw that, and he recognized that and helped that brand make sure that they connected with those things. That's what he does for us too.
And this is one of the reasons I really like the foundation. And when people first hear you describe this, I think oftentimes it can sound unusual because, like, you're talking about marketing and everything, and it almost makes it seem like, oh, you're more about an industry than a cause. But it boils down to figuring out what works.
That's right.
Because the whole point is saving lives, and you want to do it. You want to save as many as possible, and so researching the most effective way to do that, it actually makes complete and total sense.
When you think about it, right? When you dig in a little bit deeper, it does make sense. And so some of the discoveries we've made along the way, you know, originally in the pro-life movement, everyone was focusing on the baby. And understand that, right? The babies are the innocent human beings in the middle of this madness, right? But what we recognized pretty early on is that when you talk to her about her, meaning the woman who's carrying the life of this child, the mother, more often than not, you're able to save the life of her child too, because she feels like you're talking to her and truly hearing and seeing her. Because so many women, they hear that message, choose life, and they think, whose life? This child that I'm carrying, or this life that I thought I was going to know, my career, my education. I had dreams. I had the dream wedding planned in my head. A lot of these life plans that women have had laid out for them for decades before this happens to them. And so then we started to recognize, okay, we need to make sure our messaging isn't baby-centric. It needs to be woman-centric. And so we shifted to that, and we saw a lot of groups come alongside us and did the same thing. As you hear it in our voices whenever we try to connect with people on this issue. We understand that we need to talk, again, with her about her. But here's the thing, Nick. One of our most recent research studies actually showed us that so many times women, we thought that the right thing to say to them is, I'll support you no matter what you choose.
This was, I think, something you talked about last year, and it was really powerful. So I'm glad you're going to talk about this.
It's eye-opening, right? Yeah. Our culture has conditioned us to think as, I mean, not even...
Well, and guys, to say that that's what we're supposed to say. Whatever you want to do, it's all your decision.
We think, and friends too have been conditioned to think that, but men especially, because we have been told my body, my choice, stay out of my uterus, all of these things, like all of this has been told to men so that we think we're not supposed to say anything. So I'll support you no matter what you choose. And in fact, many of you listening probably heard that phrase in your head before I even finished the sentence. That's alarming. That is cultural conditioning at its finest, okay? So social conformity has definitely created this madness. All right, but the problem is that what we recognize through one of our latest studies is that women, self-identified pro-choice women, said they resent that answer. And we're like, what? Pro-choice women don't want us to say, I'll support you no matter what you choose. But it's because they said they feel like you've just taken all the responsibility and dumped it on their shoulders.
Your problem.
Yeah, for them to battle alone. If a woman is telling her partner she's pregnant, what she wants to hear can be as high level as, I don't know what this looks like, but I'll help you be the best mom possible, and I'll be the best dad possible, and we'll figure this out together. That's it. That's as simple as it can be. That's what real compassion looks like.
Well, and that's, again, part of why I love the Vitae Foundation and the research it does, because that is such a profound mind shift that that no one really recognized. No. That, and as you noted, even the pro-abortion, pro-choice women resent being told, oh, it's your, it's up to you, whatever you want. People, it's kind of, I mean, you want to look at it somewhat through a humorous lens. How annoying is that when you're trying to decide where to eat? Right. Like, you decide, I don't want to be the one to make the decision. Yeah. So when you're talking about this huge thing, this huge moment, and then to essentially be ironically unsupported by the attempt to be supportive.
So let's break that down even a little bit further, because this was the light bulb moment that we had in this research project. If a woman is telling her partner that she's pregnant, she is only looking for support. She's looking for affirmation. She's looking for him to say, again, we'll figure this out together. I'm going to lead. I'm going to provide. I'm going to protect. You are not alone. Because if she wanted to just go get that abortion, Nick, she'd go get it on her own. She doesn't want to complicate the matter by telling him that she's pregnant and him possibly standing in the way of it. And she doesn't even need him for money for it anymore, because there are groups that will bust these women across state lines and find all kinds of abortion funds for them. That's not a problem anymore. Again, the part that was illuminated for us is, and as many of us had never considered that before, the reason why she's even telling him in the first place is because she's looking for support.
Because why else?
He is the number one influential person in her life, only followed after that by the mother of the baby or the mother of the father of the baby, meaning the grandmother. And, I walked this out myself, right, over the course of the past couple years. To be completely vulnerable, we had an unexpected pregnancy with my grandbaby. And I'm telling you, again, I'm so thankful that he knew those words to say and what not to say. And we need to help young men understand that, because so many times they think they're saying the compassionate thing. In our research study on men, there were several that had the same sentiment, but two of them voiced these words exactly. They said, when we told them that women don't want to hear, I'll support you no matter what you choose, they said, well, damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Yeah.
Ooh, kick in the gut, guys.
Right.
Because here's the thing. Men and women were never meant to be in competition. Right? Men are naturally wired as protectors and providers, and women are naturally wired as nurturers. It does not mean that women can't lead. I'm leading a team of almost 30 out of Jeff City, Missouri, right? Like, we do international work. It just means I lead differently. So men that are listening to this right now, I really want you to really just take a minute and just think about what it is you have been called to do as a provider and protector. Because I'm here to tell you, strong woman here, I'm telling you, we need you. We need you to protect us, and we certainly need you to protect our children. I just recorded an ad for Mizzou yesterday using that line, and I hope that if anybody listens to little Mizzou football occasionally or basketball, that you guys connect with that and you share that far and wide, that message far and wide, because I'm telling you, so many times our culture has been telling men to sit down and shut up on this issue. And that's part of the problem, guys. We need you to embrace that masculinity. It's not toxic. It is the authenticity that we need for men to lead and lead well and be good fathers.
Another aspect of the whole training men to think that the best thing to do is say, oh, I'll support whatever you do, is there is a quote choice that's being made. If you aren't providing the mother with an idea of what having the child will look like by telling them what you said, I will be there I will be a good father, I'll be a provider, then you're not providing them with it's a blind choice. You're denying them the knowledge of what you are willing to do once that child is born.
There were so many men from our study that actually, again, they thought they were saying the right thing when they use that statement. But like you just explained, the women have to fill in the gaps on their own. And they have been told that men will walk out, that men will walk away. And if she doesn't feel like you're going to fight for this child, just even the fact that she's carrying this baby in her womb in that moment, what makes her think that you're going to not walk away when the nights are long and when the diapers are coming at you and the bills are hitting and the child is throwing a tantrum in Walmart? Like, what makes her think that you're going to stay through all of that? She has to hear you in that moment say, I'm strong and I'm going to help you. But it also means you have to be good men.
Yeah.
That's the key, right? No, and because
Commit.
please hear my heart, women that are listening to this, like, I understand that some have been coerced into this decision. Some of us didn't have good men, right, that were willing to step into those roles. I understand that too, ladies. Please Again, hear my heart on that. We see you, we hear you. But we need to give men the opportunity to do the right thing. So that's why we did the research study on this specifically, and that's why we've become so passionate about trying to sound the alarm. And for people that are like, okay, well, what does real compassion look like? It's more than words. Let's break that down a little bit.
Well, before we do that, because this is going to be important, we're going to just take a quick break. We'll get traffic. We'll continue on
Breaks
here
makes.
with. Yes, I know.
You got to pay the bills.
Well, particularly political season. So we got a lot of those campaign ads, and people really love them.
Yeah.
They're
the
like,
best
please
ever.
give us more. Give us more. Brandy Meeks with us, the president of Vitae Foundation. More with her coming up. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. Sarah Myers, everyone.
Thank you. Springfield Livestock Marketing Center coming up today at 10 a.m. They will host their bi-weekly dairy sale and their Holstein steer special. And I do want to mention, which this might sound kind of silly, but they do have really great AC in that building. But I do like to mention that because I've been to other auction houses in the middle of summer and it was just miserably hot. But that is not the case over there at Springfield Livestock. And hey, if you can't make it out there, but you still want to attend virtually, they offer live streaming and online bidding as well. To check out other upcoming sales, just visit their website, springfieldlivestock.com. And of course, you can find all of their contact information under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com. Springfield's Talk 104.1, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. An extreme heat warning remains in effect until 7 p.m. tonight. Today, we'll see partly sunny skies with a high near 98 and heat index values as high as 106. Tonight, a chance for isolated showers and thunderstorms before 11 p.m. Otherwise, mostly cloudy with a low around 75. For your Wednesday, scattered showers in the afternoon and then partly sunny with a high near 89. Heat index values as high as 96. And for Thursday, mostly sunny with a high near 90.
All right, so we're talking with Brandy Meeks, president of Vitae Foundation, and before we get to the compassion conversation here, and I just want to stress, I think for a lot of people, especially pro-life people, and you hear we're going to talk about abortion, sometimes it's a tune-out factor because, well, I know where I stand on that. There's no new information. I love Vitae Foundation for a number of reasons, but one is because of all, as pro-life as you may be, there's so much information, as we've talked about in the first half hour, about what works and what doesn't work in terms of messaging. And it's so, I just find it fascinating and interesting anyhow. And so I would just encourage people to not think, oh, well, the pro-life message, I know that, I spread that, because it is so much more. But I did want to mention, and somebody had texted in regarding this as they're listening to the conversation, and I had printed off the article this morning, and it's an article about how in Springfield, the Planned Parenthood fired up abortions this week here in Springfield again.
I almost mentioned this to you.
Well, and they had asked, they said, I thought it was outlawed in Missouri.
Huh. Well, something happened a couple years ago.
Yeah, there was that constitutional amendment. For a lot of people, this can verge into the Amendment 4 discussion about changing the way that we deal with the Constitution. But yeah, it made us like the most abortion-friendly state in the entire country.
Guys, it puts us right up with Colorado, California, and New York. And you might be like, that sounds extreme. It's because it is.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it went so far as to say in the constitutional amendment that passed a couple of years ago that if a person like kills the mother while performing the abortion, they're absolved from any sort of responsibility. I mean, it's insane how horrific and macabre it is. And
abortion through birth for any reason. And you might say for any reason, well, a woman can even just, I mean, she can think that she's going to have postpartum depression.
Oh, yeah.
And that's enough.
Freak out. Just freak out. Be like, I can't do this. And that means you can get the abortion.
And again, you might think that doesn't happen. I saw it happen with my own eyes. I was a pregnancy center director up north of Kansas City for several years. And before this constitutional amendment took place in Missouri, we had a young woman come through. And I was kind of relieved when I saw how visibly pregnant she was, because she was 32 weeks along. Oh, I'm sorry, I might cry. This one got to me. And I was relieved when she came in, because I was like, okay, no one is going to do anything with her this far along, right? Like, she's in the clear. Yeah. And she went to Colorado. She went to Boulder, Colorado. There is a clinic out there, and they will abort your child for any reason up until birth, because she was starting to have a freak out moment. Her boyfriend had broken up with her, and she was worried she was not going to be able to do it emotionally. And so instead of looking to place her child for adoption or for somebody to come alongside her to be able to help lift her up, we certainly tried, but she went through with that appointment. And for those people who say that would never happen, I saw it happen with my own eyes. And now that can happen in our state, right? They don't have to cross state lines to go do this anymore. And so it is alarming. We do have to do better. This is why laws matter too, right? Again, they both are important. Culture and laws, we've got to take care of them both.
Brandy Meeks, president of Vitae Foundation, the issue of compassion.
Yeah. So for For so long, our culture has been told that like affirming people and whatever it is they're going through is somehow compassionate. Think about the trans issue too.
Right.
Okay, like, oh, you do you, and it won't hurt anybody, and that whole idea. Even like counselors can't even necessarily talk to them, right, about how there is an issue with their like psychological well-being when it comes to
you
that,
have to
right?
support them. They try to use Christ in the Bible, like, well, he says to love everyone, so that means you should support. No, those are two different
Right.
things.
You can love people
Yes.
without affirming them in the middle of that crisis, and so it's very similar with that. Again, that I'll support you no matter what you choose nonsense, because we feel like, okay, we're just affirming them and then we're taking a step back. But here's the thing, that's not real compassion. Like real compassion looks like for a woman who's pregnant, it looks like offering to babysit for her so she can finish her college night classes, or while she goes to her job, right? It looks like making sure you show up for food for them, or helping them connect with their local pregnancy center. I mean, how many of us out there listening right now don't know where the local pregnancy center is? I hope you do, because you have some great ones in this area, right? But that's what real compassion looks like. But for so many times, our default response is like, hey, let's just get it off of my shoulders in the middle of that crisis. A similar parallel is, think about when someone has lost a loved one, or they're dealing with a really heavy illness, a battle with an illness. Lots of times we'll tell them, hey, let me know what you need, right? Oftentimes that's what people say. And really the only thing that does is it checks the box in the person that's delivering the message. Like, hey, I let them know, right? Or I told them I'll support you, right? But it doesn't really show compassion. And so I think that we need to take a good hard look at our default responses and understand what real compassion looks like. It doesn't look like, let me know what you need, or I'll support you no matter what you choose. It looks like, hey, I know where there's some real help. That's what real compassion looks like, friends.
Yeah, because you're almost putting an additional burden on them, because you're like, once you figure out what I can do, then let me know.
And how many times do we do that?
And we do it well-meaning, generally.
do.
Now, some people just say it just because they feel like they got to say something, but I think a lot of well-meaning people, because they don't know what to say, and so just let me know. And what we tell ourselves is that, well, we're leaving it open, so anything that they need, which means that I'm being ultra helpful, and that's not how it's received.
A person going through a crisis is paralyzed in that moment, right? They're emotionally paralyzed. They are overwhelmed.
I just think of these analogies. It's like somebody drowning and then the lifeguard hollering, "Let me know if you need anything,"
Let me know if you need a life preserver.
Right.
Just call out.
Yeah.
Right? I'm saying help.
Right, yeah.
Can you not see me?
It does not work that way.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think that's the thing is, like look for the compassionate things to do, because you will find someone in your life that's going to experience an unexpected pregnancy. It will touch your family in some way. I promise you. This coming from the woman who for so long people thought I had some kind of abortion story or unexpected pregnancy story myself, because I'm so passionate about this issue. Right. And I was like, no, I believe that every human being deserves a chance at human dignity, despite whether their size, location, ethnicity, like all of these things should not discriminate, even abilities, right? Shouldn't discriminate against whether a child has a chance to be able to have a life.
I would love the pro-life movement to become synonymous with human rights. You know what I'm saying? Because it is. And human rights is just universally accepted as, well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
And the disconnect between pro-life and humanitarian or human rights, I don't know how that happened, if it just evolved that way but
I know how that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
is it deliberate? I'm sure.
Pro-abortion culture. This is what they did. They did this on purpose, right? And they did it before we had the technology to prove otherwise. Because now you can see, like science can show us that life begins at conception. Like you can see a flash of light happens. And here's the thing, for those of you that are still like on the fence, that are struggling with this, to be like, oh, I don't really know if that's true. Well, there's unique DNA that is formed in that moment. that conception happens. Unique DNA. That's the blueprint for everything that's growing from that point on. So if it's not a life, if it's not a human being, what is it? It's not an elephant. It's not a tree. It has to be a human being. That's the only thing that makes sense. And for some of us, will say things like, well, I think it begins when the heartbeat begins. Well, that unique DNA blueprint is the same blueprint for that heart that's growing actively until that heartbeat begins. So again, it's easier for us to make that line ambiguous.
Oh, sure.
Because then it gives us maybe this feeling where we can detach from it and say, oh, I personally wouldn't choose abortion, but I don't want to make that decision for someone else. Right? Like, I personally wouldn't abuse puppies, but I don't want to, like, okay, friends, right? Like, where do you draw the line?
It's almost worse.
Yeah.
I've always felt that way. If you have somebody who just denies the science and thinks it's not okay, that they're wrong. But if you're someone who, well, I personally am, but I don't. So you recognize that this is the killing of a child, and you're still okay with people doing that? I don't think that's a very virtuous position.
It's not consistent either.
No, it's not.
And again, so a lot of times there are men that will take that position because they feel like they don't have a say. But again, guys, you are naturally wired to be protectors. And that actually leads me to talk a little bit about Riley Gaines.
Well, okay, so let's just a quick traffic and then 30-second break, and then we'll talk about Riley Gaines here.
Who do you think you are, Nick? Do you control this show or something?
I try. I try as best as possible. No, you are not at all. Brandy Meeks, Vitae Foundation with us more, and talking Riley Gaines next. I'm Nick Reed. Brandy Meeks in the studio with us, Vitae Foundation president, and she is here because just in a few weeks, I guess it is, the annual event that takes place here in Springfield always have incredible speakers. Sometimes they're more well-known than others, but I've learned in the, I don't know how many years I've been fortunate enough to MC the events, they're always just total bangers. I mean, just like 5-star, fantastic, and I have no doubt this year is going to be exactly the same.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. We are very intentional about the people that we bring in. And so for some people that are listening, they're thinking, Riley Gaines, wasn't she the woman that was the NCAA swimmer that had her medal taken from her by a trans swimmer that was competing against her? And the answer is yes. And then you might be thinking, okay, well, what does that have to do with the pro-life issue? And that's what I was alluding to as we wrapped up the last segment, is that let's talk about the protectors, because Riley will share with you, and I don't want to steal all of her thunder, because if you've ever seen her on the news, if you've ever seen her on any of her reels or any of her social media, you understand this woman is a spitfire, okay? But she was looking around when that medal got taken from her for the coaches, for the officials, for somebody from the NCAA to step in and protect these young women, these young swimmers, as they're navigating this really weird situation. She's looking around. She's already been dealing with it because they're sharing locker rooms and it's already awkward. I mean, she'll tell you stories about how they're having to dress in front of each other, in front of somebody who's a biological male.
Right.
Okay?
Fully.
Are we okay with that, with our daughters having to deal with that? Guys, no, I know I'm not. And so she's looking for anybody to step up. And then she realized she had to do it for herself, right? So again, she's able to help us understand why we need good, strong men that are willing to step up, and we also need to be able to train our young ladies to be able to advocate for themselves as well. And that's one of the biggest lessons I learned through all of this. But Riley does a fantastic job speaking. She has spoken for us in places all over the country. She sells out everywhere. I'm telling you.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think like the last 3 places I have spoken at with her, 3 or 4, she has sold out. We have about, maybe less by this point, 100 tickets left for our event that's in 3.5 weeks, guys. That's unheard of. We need to make sure that if you want to be at this event,
you
got to do it now.
August 21st.
August 21st.
It's always a Friday, correct? Saturday. Is it Saturday?
It's a Friday this time.
It is a Friday this time?
Most often it's a Friday, yeah.
Okay, got it. And it's at is it the same
White River Yep.
Conference Center, which Wonders Wildlife Bass Pro. And it's always a fantastic event. I mean, it's just there's such meaningful information. And again, I just want to stress, if you're a person who's pro-life, you're like, oh, I go to pro-life events and I donate, you will learn so much depth about the meaningful ways of really doing effective, positive change. And so even if you think you know the issue inside and out, I really encourage you're going to be missing out if you do not attend this event.
I appreciate that. Come lean in and learn, guys. This is what I tell people. For those that try to say, well, I don't know how to talk about this issue. I don't have a pro-life story. That's okay. You being a part of this mission, coming and contributing to the cause, coming to learn more, coming to understand the issue better is all the credibility that you need to be able to talk about this with your friends and your family. And I'm telling you, you will not come to this event and not learn something. I just used double negatives. I'm sure my English teachers are really proud of me right now. But the point is that you will absolutely learn something, a takeaway. And why wouldn't we? You know, so many people are frustrated right now. I hear them in the movement, especially. Like, we can't keep doing the same old things. We're going to keep getting the same old results. I agree wholeheartedly. We pro-life differently at VT Foundation, and not in a way that excludes other groups, in a way that, again, like, we're looking at the issue and trying to uncover new ways to be able to solve this thing. This men's study breakthrough is huge, and we're going to be launching another men's study here pretty soon. Specifically, I did an interview with the Officer Tatum, Brandon Tatum's show, a couple months ago. He has, I believe, like 3.7 million followers on YouTube. It's insane, right? And if you go look in that comment section, you will see very clearly why we need to connect with more men on this issue, because he doesn't have like a strictly pro-life audience. In fact, many of them are law enforcement or veterans, a lot of men. But in that comment section will break your freaking heart, because these are men that will talk about how they never got married, how they never had any more children, how they lost the love of their life, and all because of abortion. And so we're gonna talk a little bit about that at the event, but then also be able to help you understand how we're gonna work together to end this.
You know, that reminds me of a thought that I had at one of the events, and I believe there was may have been a video presentation of someone who had benefited from help and had decided to have her child, and then it was just about the gratefulness and where her life and her child is today. And that's when it struck me that not only was one life saved, but 2 or 3 were, because that life that the mother had, that life from the moment of that birth, those birthday parties, those scraped knees, all of that stuff would not have been a life that existed. And when you mention the men talking about their lives and how they never did this or they never did that, because those lives also were lost. And so it's not just the child's life that gets saved, but it's also the life path of the mother and the father as well. And I don't think we think about that.
No, I don't think we think about how that's been the downfall of our culture as well. Again, so many times we're telling men like they shouldn't have emotions, they shouldn't feel things, that grown men don't cry, this kind of stuff. And so these men have been hurting for a while, for decades, and been told that they shouldn't be. And so this is our opportunity to be able to connect with them as well. Like, we're missing out on a lot of men that could have been really great dads, that could have been really great leaders in their homes, and also in our communities. So I think that that's what we need to recognize, that abortion is the downfall.
Brandy Meeks, President Vitae. We're gonna just one more traffic, and then when we come back, how people can buy tickets, and then you have an opening.
We
for people that want to be part of Vitae Foundation. So that next, I'm Nick Reed. Couple of minutes left here with Brandy Meeks, the president of Vitae Foundation, coming up August 21st, the dinner that,
That's right.
again, and I thank you guys 1,000 times over for allowing me to MC it. Riley Gaines is going to be the speaker this year. Where do they buy tickets? Because I know it's down to like only 100
Right.
seats left for the dinner and everything.
VitaeFoundation.org. So that's VITAE Foundation.org. You can go to the events tab. You'll clearly see we have a few events going on, but you can go and click on that one and get your tickets bought. Vitae is Latin for life. So if you're trying to remember and understand why on earth is it called Vitae, VITAE Foundation.org.
Job opening.
Job opening. So I hope Cass is still listening right now. Anybody who knows Cassidy Bowen Anderson, understands what a gem she is.
Yes.
And she's also one of my very best friends. And she did go on to continue her career over at College of the Ozarks, and we're really grateful for the opportunity for her to be able to do that. But it does mean that we have an opening at Vitae Foundation for a regional philanthropy officer here in the Springfield area. So if you feel called to do this, we haven't even posted the job listing yet, but I was coming over here today and I thought, you know what? Yeah. The time is now. If anybody is feeling called to this movement and you have fundraising experience, it's really important. We need somebody who understands how to go and get people involved in the mission. We need you.
Best way if they are interested?
Yeah, go ahead and reach out via the website. There's an info tab there. Again, the job listing isn't posted quite yet, so just reach out via info, and we'll make sure that you can get your resume over to us, and you can actually get ahead of everybody else that's going to see it on Indeed and LinkedIn soon. Be awesome. Wouldn't that be awesome? Right. Yeah. So in the subject line, put Nick Reed.
Yeah, fantastic. Do August 21st, and I know we always have listeners there as well, and I look forward to talking with all those folks. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's always wonderful to see you. Can't wait to see you in a few weeks.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to seeing everyone there. Get there, guys. You don't want to miss this.
And as always, any of the program that you miss, we've got the podcast up, so you can download the app. If you haven't done that, go to ksgf.com and also iTunes and Spotify and all those places. News in 60 seconds. I'm Nick Reed. Springfield's Talk 104.1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. My name is Nick Reed. A reminder that Friday we will be broadcasting live at Scramblers, and it's a special Friday. It is a Heroes Breakfast. So if you're a veteran, you make your way out there between 6 and 9 as we do broadcast live. Then you're going to get free breakfast. Delta Roofing, Air Services, Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, Electrical, the Warrior's Journey, and Scramblers making that possible. At KSGF.com, you could win an ultimate fair package for the Ozark Empire Fair. Tickets to every grandstand show, plus meet and greet to Sawyer Brown, 4-pack to the Kids Monster Truck Challenge before the Outlaw Monster Truck. Register for that at KSGF.com. And then tomorrow, of course, we'll be out at Springfield Livestock, won't we?
That is correct.
Yeah, so we'll be out there.
Mingles.
Yes, in Mingles there, which opens at 8. So if you want to come by and have breakfast, they actually open a little earlier than that if you want some coffee. But 8 o'clock is the time in which they really fire up things for breakfast there. Cinnamon rolls are quite delicious. We're going to be talking with Lori Rook coming up here in just a moment. Usually with these races, I note that, well, if you don't know what district you're in, or if you don't know that this is the area that you are in, I don't have to say it with this race because you definitely know there have been probably more than any other race, and this is the area that I live, a lot of awareness that the race is going on with different advertising and outreach. And so we'll chat with Lori Rook on her run coming up here in just a couple of moments. Right now, the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. An extreme heat warning remains in effect until 7 p.m. tonight. Today we'll see partly sunny skies with a high near 98 and heat index values as high as 106. Tonight, a chance for isolated showers and thunderstorms before 11 p.m. Otherwise, mostly cloudy with a low around 75. For your Wednesday, scattered showers in the afternoon. And then partly sunny with a high near 89 and heat index values as high as 96. And for Thursday, mostly sunny with a high near 90.
Tuesday, Election Day. Sample ballots, sponsored by Brad Pistolos of Save Money Radio, are at KSGF.com. Some of you will, in this primary, be making the decision between incumbent Curtis Trent and Lori Rook, who is running against him. Welcome. I had said, because of course we talked to you out at Scramblers quite a bit, and I said, have you actually been in studio? And then you were like, yeah, I think so, when I ran for treasurer. This race is much more confined. Mm-hmm. I know just as busy. That doesn't cut down on the amount of time that you spend campaigning, but certainly much more confined than the entire state.
Yeah, definitely. I call it just more like in an echo chamber or a bubble. It's an interesting district in terms of the broadness of it and the folks that live in it. So,
all right. So, what made you decide to run?
Just sick and tired of watching the lobbyists and the special interests run the state into the ground. That's who's controlling everything. We have a class of career politicians who are being puppeted by these groups. It's pay to play. And if we continue to go down this path with weak Republicans, we are going to turn our state back over to the Democrats.
What do you think some of the biggest problems are that are the result of that, what you see as the current approach with the lobbyists and so forth?
We've got a class of folks who don't have a lot of experience. What I would say in the real world, folks that haven't had real jobs. We have people up in Jefferson City that still live with their parents that are pushing tax initiatives all over the state for people. And these seem to be the people that are in these seats for a reason, because they lack the knowledge, they lack the perspective, and they are easy pliable and manipulated by the lobbyists and special interest groups. They don't read the legislation. They don't have time to read the legislation. I don't think that a lot of them care to read the legislation. And then there's talking points presented to them, and then they go off on the campaign trail and preach them to everyone. And people are tired of it.
Yeah. Are there any specific issues that you're thinking, all right, if I get in there, this is what I'm going to start working on day one?
I think personhood is something that we need to go back and tackle. I've talked with Senator Mike Moon about this, and this is something that I'm very passionate about on the pro-life front. I do believe life begins at conception. Amendment 3 is going to be on the ballot in November. It carves out exceptions, and that doesn't sit well with me. I'm going to vote for it, but I think all babies' lives matter. So that's one of the things that I'm very passionate about. Data center legislation. I think this is it's the number one issue right now, and we are allowing predatory big tech corporations to come in and roll over our farmland, drain our aquifers, and raise our utility rates. And something's got to be done about that. So, and then there's just a complete lack of transparency in the Senate. This is you probably have heard this, but we're one of 2 states that doesn't have cameras in our Senate. And there is a large percentage of people that have a distrust in our Republican Party in Jefferson City, and it starts with something simple like that. I think this is simple, and the fact that my opponent and others have stood and fought against this doesn't bode well for trying to build trust. And so, if we're going to do that, that's step one.
What do you think the motivation is behind this stubbornness, if you will, to prevent cameras from being in there so that people can tune in and watch?
Accountability. They don't want to be held accountable. If you've ever gone and watched and sat in the gallery in Jefferson City, your mind would be blown as to what goes on up there. And it's quite disgusting. I think it's disrespectful. This is the people's house, and there are rules, and they should be followed. And the number of people that their behavior on the floor, that the folks that aren't on the floor, it's, you've heard Wassinger speak about it. And so this is something that it may seem silly. It may seem like, why can't we do this? But I think it's huge. It's built a wall between politicians and the people. And that's what my campaign is about. It's about working for the people.
As you go door to door, you're talking with folks. Are you hearing any overriding themes, or is it a complete just patchwork of concerns people have?
Right now, people are really tired of mailers. And it is definitely feeding into my position that there's a lot of lobbyist money in my race, and people are very grossed out by it. So I talked to a school district recently that's having to postpone sending out their back to school mailers because of this. And so
Are they afraid that it just get tossed
so it's
aside
gonna get
because, yeah,
yeah. So that right now,
crazy.
I mean it's wild. Prior to the inundation of the mailers, I would say Amendment 5 is the number one, with and along with data centers. These are the two things people want to talk about, and they have questions, and we talk through them. And there's so much misinformation out there, and I am in the group of conservatives that I am a hard no on Amendment 5, and that comes from my years of experience as an estate planning and elder law attorney and meeting with people from all different walks of life, farmers, military, aging population. And I can see what it really means. If you read the legislation from a legal lens, you can see the opportunities available to those in Jefferson City to maybe go beyond what they're preaching to everyone. So, but that's the big talking point substantively is Amendment 5 and data centers.
When you mention Amendment 5 and people are asking you questions, are they asking your position on it or just asking for information? Because it is complicated, and I know we get a combination of both. Like, well, what do you think? But then a lot of people are like, I don't understand it. I'm hearing so much. Or is it a combination?
For the most part, it's a combination of where do you stand and why? What
Right,
does it
yeah.
mean? This just comes from the lack of trust that I talked about earlier.
Oh, sure.
And I'm all for lower taxes. Don't get me wrong, but this is not how to do it. And we are asking the people to trust the folks in Jefferson City that have got us into this financial position to go back if this passes and decide what this is going to look like. The guardrails were stripped out on the Senate side, and there's just not a lot of trust with people right now. So that's been the overwhelming, along with data centers, the last few months.
Lori Rook with us. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll continue on, have another segment as her name is going to be on the ballot for those of you that if you go to KSGF.com, of course, you can see the sample ballot sponsored by Brad Pistole, host of Safe Money Radio. And if you're asking, I haven't really heard much about this race. I don't know if I'm in that area. You probably are not, because as she mentioned, and many of you know, the flyers in particular. Now, you may see the ads on TV, not be in the district. If you're getting mail flyers, that is because, in all likelihood, you are going to see that name on the ballot coming up on Tuesday. More with Lori Rook coming up. I'm Nick Reed. Brookline Door Works, preventative maintenance. There are some things that once upon a time you would have repaired. I think vacuum cleaners fall into that category, but people now just throw them away. It's cheaper to buy a new one. But some products aren't like that. Garage doors happen to be one of them. They are expensive, and they are very significant and important to your home for a number of different reasons. And, like anything that you want to last a long time, your vehicle being an example, your HVAC system, routine maintenance is something that can help them last longer, years longer perhaps. So yeah, you may pay $150 a year in order to have some routine maintenance done, and that isn't necessarily fun, but it's a lot less fun to have an unexpected $6,000 bill that comes because it just breaks down altogether. And when it comes to garage doors, so important. Most of those springs, for example, have a lifespan of only about 10,000 uses, and you think, well, that's sounds like years and years and years. Average garage door gets 3,000 of those every year. So after a little over 3 years, you're probably lifetimed out of those springs. And they may last years beyond that, but preventative maintenance can help you increase the likelihood you're not going to find yourself in a position unexpectedly with a massive bill as opposed to just having the routine maintenance done. I recommend it. Brookline Door Works are the folks I recommend you do it. And this isn't simply for residential, but any commercial as well. They specialize there. BrooklineDoorWorks.com, also under Nick's endorsements at KSGF.com. Lori Rook in studio with us, and you're in the final stretch, I suppose. Next Tuesday is the election. Because there's so much, we were talking during the break, I don't know. Locally, I don't think there are any races that are as high profile just because of all the advertising and flyers that are being mailed out as this race. And a lot of it's out of hands of the candidates. You've got, lobbyists or PACs that are throwing all this stuff around. And, so it's unbridled at times. Are there any out there that you find yourself really having to push back on? Because I know that, there's been all sorts of information, people that are obviously in opposition to you about, a complaint and regarding, I think, MEC or whichever division, and then all sorts of other stuff regarding taxes. So just give you an opportunity to address it, I guess, or fix the information if there's any misinformation out there.
Well, our business has been around for 24 years. We obviously have former employees out there, and I can't really speak to any of that for legal reasons.
That's true. And
But yeah, and that's being dealt with. There's things in the background going on there. There has been a very dishonest ad put out regarding PPP funds, and I can't really speak to that because there's a lot of legal things going on in the background there as well. Beyond that, the rest of it are just attempt to slander my character, try to paint me as a liberal. They came after my business last year. This has been an ongoing thing. And so, I don't have a voting record. So they've had to go after my business, my family, my friends, my character. And my husband now. So, these are things that when you get into politics, you have to accept that are going to happen. And we just have to continue knocking doors, talking to people, getting the truth out. Most people see through it. I've been born and raised in this community. I've served a lot of people in this community over the years. And most people I talk to know the truth about me and what I stand for. And so, but it's politics.
Well, you mentioned, and obviously you're running and you're talking about the issues that you are conservative on. And I remember seeing some flyers that try to characterize you as being the opposite, as being liberal.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess you just have to rely on communicating, because I think if I'm someone who is conservative and I'm going to someone's house, I'm like, well, I'm seeing this. I guess you just try to explain to them as best as you can your position.
Yeah, a lot of that liberal DEI stuff is coming from the fact that I'm an attorney. The Missouri Bar requires us to take DEI courses. So a lot of organizations in my profession offer these courses. And being a member of these organizations, most of them are very geared towards my practice, Academy of Elder Law Attorneys, estate planning attorneys, those types of things. I've never taught these courses. I've never promoted these courses. I've never, one of these organizations apparently participated in Pride Month. I did not participate in Pride Month. I did not do these things. So these things are just being bootstrapped onto me. Yeah. And again, going back to it's politics. So, we have been at it hard on the grounds for almost 10 months. And so we were able to get out ahead of a lot of this and talk to people. And people know, they know who I am. And they know there's a lot of money behind all of this. And it really just supports the position that we're putting out, that the lobbyists are controlling everything. And in my race with, someone that could be in this leadership role, there's a lot of lobby groups that want to keep that control, and someone like me's in the way.
Lori Rook, final thoughts you have for everyone this morning as you enter this final stretch?
Yeah, just cut through the noise, do your research. Hopefully, if we haven't got to your door, you will have a chance to talk with us over the next week. Reach out to me through my website. Social media, I will call everyone back. I talk to everyone. It may take me a minute, but I spent a lot of yesterday calling people back. So we'll get your questions answered. And if you're ready for change, if you're ready for someone that's actually going to work for the people, vote Lori Rook on August 4th.
And what is the website?
LoriRook.com.
Oh, okay. It's pretty simple. Easy to remember. All right. Well, hey, it's great to see you. And then, I don't know, maybe see you Friday. Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know either. I know we had schedule changes and everything, and so I don't know either.
Yeah, I'm off on my week. I'll check.
Yes, if not Friday, then the following Friday, I'm sure. Lori Rook, so good to see you, and have fun in the final stretch.
Thank you so much.
All right, you bet. And, of course, again, those sample ballots at KSGF.com, sponsored by Brad Pistole, host of Safe Money Radio. Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. An extreme heat warning remains in effect until 7 p.m. tonight. Today we'll see partly sunny skies with a high near 96 and heat index values as high as 106. Tonight, a chance for isolated showers and thunderstorms before 11 p.m., otherwise mostly cloudy with a low around 75. For your Wednesday, scattered showers in the afternoon and then partly sunny with a high near 89, heat index values as high as 96. And for Thursday, mostly sunny with a high near 90.
All right, we're going to hear in just a couple moments talk flock cameras. I was driving out like on a county road and I saw what I think was one. I was like, even out here? What is this crazy? Now, it's not just Springfield. In fact, I believe it's next Monday. We are going to have a gal on Monday or Tuesday of next week who is sort of coordinating or heading up an effort regarding the flock cameras and questioning, pushing back on them in Willard. Now, there's been a lot of attention about these here in Springfield, and when it comes to the flock cameras, I think that a lot of people believe that they are in line with the cameras that are at stoplights and they snap your picture if you run a red light, and then that's pretty much the limitations of their usage, and that really is not the case. And in fact, we shared some information articles maybe before I went on vacation regarding the advancement in terms of software and the usage of the information they are able to gather. And you may have seen, I know one of the local stations here had some folks on that were trying to bring awareness in the Springfield area, and one of those individuals, Isaac, is in studio with us and literally just sat down, and the first time that we've met. How are you? It's nice to meet you.
Hey, good morning. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
All right, now I do recognize you because I think you were on was it KY3 or Ozarks First or one of those? I saw you on there. All right. So for people that they've heard of flock cameras, how do you best describe specifically the ones in Springfield and their usage?
So you may have heard of license plate readers. That's what Flock Safety calls their product. The way I try to get across the main gist of the argument is Flock Safety calls these license plate readers, and what they do is a lot more than that. They use AI to build a fingerprint of your car so it can track cars even without seeing a license plate. So it's clearly just doing a lot more than they say. It's kind of I like to say it's a Trojan horse, bringing in ability to store lots of data. As far as how they're specifically used in Springfield, city police say it's just for public safety, like stopping crimes, right? That all sounds good.
One of the issues that I have, and it's from just more of a pulled back view, and I relayed this story, someone that I know several weeks ago, there was sort of a road rage incident in their neighborhood, and it resulted in the person pulling out a gun, pointing it at him and his family. So they call police, and when the police are there, this person comes back around, not realizing the police were there. So the police capture the guy, and so they were told later, this person I know, that we actually all, before he came back by, we knew who he was because of the flock cameras. Then, after having the guy in the squad car for an hour, after he clearly was intending to, at the very least, frighten with a firearm, he was let go. And they're like, well, we can't really because of this and that and so forth. And I thought to myself, I don't think catching criminals really, or the lack of ability to catch criminals, is the source of our crime problem right now. It's that even when we do anyhow, half the time they're just let off. They know that they are going to get maybe a slap on the wrist. And so I think if at least we had a system in which once criminals were caught, they got meaningful punishment, that resulted in a safer society, you could at least argue that it was, quote, making things safer. But that's not happening anyhow. Does that make sense? So it's like, to me, the making a safer argument doesn't really come into play, because I don't think it's the capturing of the criminals or tracking them down that's the problem anyhow.
Yeah, let me just quote the CEO of Flock, Garrett Langley. A few years ago, he said his goal is to eradicate crime in 10 years. So, if you think that sounds plausible, then yeah, go put AI surveillance in your city, and let's just accelerate to the Orwellian future, right? Like that, it's just so out of touch. And I like to put it this way. Where did they come from? Was it police going out and asking for this product? No, we had existing license plate readers in the state that were run by the state. They're on a local network. They're not connected to the internet. They function completely differently. They only store license plate on vehicles that match a hot list. Whereas this product uses dragnet surveillance, where it's cataloging every vehicle and every license plate. It's using AI to analyze every image and generating a metadata. It's called metadata, like a bunch of little details about your car. Police weren't asking for that. This company created this and then said, you need this in your city. And they're like, okay, yeah, it does clearly make their job easier. It's a simpler system. If making things easier was the only metric of how we, install surveillance in our city, like, we could go crazy with it.
Well, sure. I mean, if, like, to your point, because that's an effective argument. They're like, oh, well, we caught this person because of a flock camera. Otherwise, we may not have caught them. Well, to your point, if that were the gauge, then we could put cameras in everyone's home, because look how much easier it would be to catch child abusers. But we don't do that, do we? Because we have certain rights, particularly when it comes to the Fourth Amendment. And so I'm with you that just doesn't really line up for me. Now, I had read an article a couple of weeks ago that noted that there had been, in I guess certain areas, software upgrades in which these cameras were actually able to glean information off, like, Bluetooth devices in your phones and so forth. So do you know much about that advancement?
I can't speak very much to it, but I did hear the same thing. It's just cataloging device signals, and with a few of those signals you can identify a person based on the technology they keep on them to a pretty high degree. It's just another way of, there's just so many ways other types of surveillance can be added. Once you have this connected platform with a camera with sensors in there, you can just one software update and it's a whole other type of surveillance.
Well, and once there's this comfortable usage of it, then there's this instinct from those who are comfortable using it to where when there is some advanced way to use it, it's almost wrong not to.
Right.
I mean, that's the attitude they take. Well, why wouldn't we use it for this? And suddenly, there is no reason not to use it in every way possible. So what do you say to people that, and this is a cliched statement, but we've heard it so long in so many different ways, that, well, as long as you're not doing anything wrong, you don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah, that's a common thing, right? And that would be one thing if it was a secure system that's actually managed by local police and data isn't leaving Springfield, right? That would be a whole other conversation. I don't even think that's what the conversation is, really, because it's not just the concept of being surveilled. It's that we have a surveillance system that we didn't build. The data isn't stored here, and we're at the mercy of this nationwide safety company that has absurd goals in mind that don't make sense. It's a whole other conversation. And I'm generally opposed to all types of surveillance. I think people act differently when you're being watched. I don't think that's what freedom and liberty is about, right?
Well, and so then what do you also say to people who argue, well, it's out in the public, so you don't have the right to privacy?
Yeah, again, I would go back to the dragnet surveillance thing, where they say, oh, it's just like having a police officer out there riding down license plates. Which one I would trust a Springfield police officer far more than, the data practices of these companies. And when you start to think about it like that, it's bizarre. Like if we had this tech guy who has access to this database, if he was standing on the corner of the road writing down every license plate and then could, look at data associated with that, it gets a lot stranger. And it's not just, being in public and being witnessed by the public. It's the metadata and being able to draw patterns from that about your life and so much more.
We're going to take a quick break, continue on here. And if anybody, by the way, if you have any questions regarding the flock cameras or what you can do to get more information or to push back against it, text in the Pyramid Roofing Company text line 447-KSGF. And we'll continue on with Isaac here in just a couple of moments. I'm Nick Reed. Sarah Myers, everyone.
Thank you. The Pyramid Roofing Company, the extreme heat, it can be just as damaging to your roof as the rain or the wind can be. Now, the heat, it can actually lead to blistering of your shingles. That can lead to nail pops and shifting on your roof. And that allows for moisture to actually get trapped underneath your shingles. And then that can lead to deck rot and mold, all of that not so fun stuff. If you have an older roof, or maybe you just want to check up on your roof, the Pyramid team, they offer free roof inspections. Now, they're currently about a week out on those inspections. And I do want to mention, if you need a new roof, the Pyramid team, they offer discounts for our military and first responders on new roof installs. If it is time to have the Pyramid team out to your home, reach out to Josh today. You can find all of the contact information for the Pyramid Roofing Company under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
We've got Isaac. Is it Protiva? Is that how you pronounce your name? Protiva. Is this an actual organization you have loosely put together, or because like I said, I became familiar with you because of an article or a news story, and you bring in awareness about the flock cameras in Springfield. Is there a website people can visit if they want more information?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, our group Flockout SGF has been working on this since late 2025. Our website is flockoutsgf.com, and at the top of that website, you're going to see a packet we presented to City Council on June 8th with a bunch of the information laid out there, and our primary ask to Council, which is to hold a vote on this contract. Okay. That was never voted on by Council. This $225,000 contract was approved as part of a police budget, but has never been actually voted on by public officials.
So right now, your goal is to get someone on Council to at least bring it up for a vote. If they won't do that, I suspect there would be enough support in the community to force a vote of the people.
Right.
So is that something that you are looking at potentially doing as well, if needed?
Well, we actually have some good news. Councilman Jensen has actually been working with us, and we've provided some data points that will be helpful for his project of analyzing benefits and harms in the community. And he's going to be reaching out to different community stakeholders and putting together some information with the end goal of putting together a draft resolution and actually getting a vote by council. So we have some promising movement in that direction.
Someone had texted in asking me to ask you if you know how the company that is responsible for these devices, the flock devices, get permission to mount the cameras on public right-of-way. This person's in Golden City saying we have 3 surrounding the town. So I guess they're just wondering, how does it happen?
That's a good question. And yeah, I have a little bit of information on that. On Springfield, the majority of the cameras are on traffic light poles, which I believe is just a lease from the city for a pole attachment, and that's how they'd get permission there. But in a lot of towns, they're on dedicated poles installed in the right-of-way. And you may have seen videos from this guy on social media that makes videos about traffic safety and things in the right-of-way, and he shows that none of these poles have the correct skid plate. There's a plate that should be at the bottom of the pole so it can shear off if a car hits it. None of these poles have that, and they're a solid pole driven into the ground, which is illegal to install in a right-of-way. So, and they don't have the stickers that say they're approved by MoDOT. So even if they have permission from the city, there seems to be some sketchiness around if this is actually approved by the state and the highway department.
Well, and depending on what road it is, you could potentially have different jurisdictions, I imagine. I mean, the difference between a county road versus a highway versus the interstate. And so, which I find oftentimes that gives people in government an easier way of being like, oh, no, it's not us. You have to check, and give you the runaround.
Just pass the buck. Yep.
Yeah. So you've got one member of the council who is looking at this, who has he indicated that, he's going to move forward on trying to get the council to vote for this?
Yeah, basically he's putting everything together that makes it a compelling argument that there needs to be a vote on this to, bring the data. Is this actually making improving clearance rates in the police department? What are the actual risks to the public? Put that all in one place and provide a compelling argument for the council to vote on it.
Well, and like I said, in the broader scope, if the whole point is to make the community safer, even if you are able to argue, arrests are up because of it, the number of arrests aren't the problem. It's the accountability factor. And so it's, sometimes I worry. I'll use the example. It was out in California, and I think it was Los Angeles or San Francisco, and there was a great deal of pushback in the community because crime was going up. And so they had some new leadership come in, and they were touting that our arrests are up 50%. And I'm like, yeah, but 90% of those people are the same people that get arrested over and over again. It's not the arrest that indicates safety. It's, are these people held accountable? Does a culture get created in which people are like, I don't want to commit a crime there because I know that I will really suffer greatly. And so I'll either not commit crimes or move on to another community. Now, of course, some people don't care either which way, but it does make a difference. And so I worry that sometimes they will utilize, we arrests are up this percentage, but that doesn't necessarily translate to a safer community.
Yep. And I would say personally, I'm not so concerned about petty theft or anything like that. The Springfield police have a pretty good track record already, but especially on really critical stuff like, let's say, Amber Alerts. If these could demonstrate actually protecting kids or something like this, I would be a lot more, open to trading some liberty, for this to happen.
And you're more flexible than some people are.
I would say that, right? Even with a traditional license plate reader, I don't love to see them, but if they can demonstrate they're doing something, I'd be open to the argument. But with these, there's just really not any good arguments even around there. They say, well, at least they're stopping Amber Alerts. No, they're not. That's what Amber Alerts are for.
Right.
And police were already doing that, and there's 10 Amber Alerts per year in the state of Missouri. The police are already doing that job. They don't They don't need this outside tech company to take credit for the job they've already been doing.
Well, and you make a really great point, because I've got like this 2-question approach or 2-benchmark approach when it comes to whether or not something should be done. One, is it the role of government? And if it is, will it work anyway? And usually, in the rare occasion for me that the first answer is yes, it is the role of government, most of the time it doesn't. They just make it worse anyway. It doesn't even work anyhow. And so, to your point, even if you do feel a little flexible when it comes to trading a little bit of liberties, well, if it's not going to really work overall anyhow, then what's the point? You're just spending taxpayer dollars on something that's...
Yep. And Flock will often send a study to cities to prove, hey, this works. But they don't say that study was actually partially funded by Flock. And then, the police chiefs will point to this, hey, look, it's effective. But if we actually do a study here, it's likely not going to be such conclusive data on how effective it is.
We're going to take just one more 60-second break, and then we'll have a final few minutes here with Isaac regarding Flock cameras. And once again, we'll give out the website, because I know a lot of people texting in, what can we do to push back on this? And make sure they have that information as well. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. Isaac Protiva, we're talking Flock cameras in Springfield. Flock out, SGF, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, you wanted to share with people something the police chief said regarding the issue of Flock cameras.
Yeah, so in a recent interview, the police chief said that he believes it's a vocal minority speaking out about Flock. And from everything we know, from everything everyone we've talked to, just, holding a sign out on a corner of an intersection, a lot of people care about this issue. Yeah. And I don't know what the specific data is, but I have a gut feeling it's a majority of people have an opinion on this issue in Springfield. So, if you're wondering what you can do, what you need to do is reach out to your council member here in Springfield, or if you're in a nearby community, reach out to your city there. But here in Springfield, on our website, Flockout SGF, go to the tab that says Take Action, and we have a list of all the council members, which one's in your zone, contact information there. But, they need to hear from everyday people that this is an issue they care about.
Yeah, that answer really ticks me off. If that is how the chief of police, in my opinion, determines what is right and wrong, what is ethical and unethical, what is legal and illegal, or what should be good practice versus bad practice, is whether or not enough people are griping about it. I don't think that is a very good position of leadership, and certainly doesn't send a very good message to citizens. It's like if you're out there, targeting some group of people and just dragging them out of cars and beating them with batons, if there aren't, if it's just a small group of people complaining about it, that doesn't mean it's okay. And to have a chief of police make that statement is pretty alarming. Unfortunately, it doesn't surprise me for Springfield. Well, thank you for coming on. And then if you would, because I know we have one another's contact info, just any sort of updates or movements or when this is going to come up, potentially in the council, let me know so we can kind of pass it along and make sure to continue to let people know where it is that they can go in order to get more information
Absolutely.
and to be able to reach out. And just thank you for doing this, you and those others that are doing it, because, you know, if it weren't for citizens like you, there would just be a lot of people saying, what can we do? And
Yep.
so you help sort of lay the groundwork and give people meaningful avenues in which to do so. So thank you. Appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll talk to you again in the future.
Yep. I'll just leave you with we have an event August 20th at the VFW, 7 to 9 p.m. Pizza, and talking about what you can do. So maybe we can talk more about that in the future. But that's what we've got coming up for the public. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you. We'll post that info. I'm Nick Reed.